I never meant for it to go that far. The words didn't echo, but they landed hard, too hard, in the cramped, pitch-black space. Mohamed Salah stood motionless, his back against the elevator wall, trying to process what he'd just heard. Beside him, barely 2 feet away in the darkness, Cristiano Ronaldo shifted. No cameras, no entourage, just 2 men, 15 floors above Paris, trapped. The Ballon d'Or ceremony was over. The photographers had gone home. But the real drama, the one no one was supposed to witness, had just begun. For months, they'd avoided each other. After that interview, after those headlines. But now, here they were, face to face, with nowhere to run and nothing left to hide. What happened in the next few minutes? No press release would mention it. No highlight reel would show it. But it changed everything. And tonight, for the first time, you're going to hear what was said when the lights went out. This is the story of what really happened between Salah and Ronaldo in that elevator, and why one sentence from Cristiano left Salah silent, the world speechless, and legacy rewritten. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, and stay until the end, because the truth isn't just shocking, it's human. The Ballon d'Or ceremony had ended, but the performance hadn't. Golden light still glimmered across the Grand Palais. Applause had faded, but the echo of it lingered like perfume in the cold Paris air. Inside, legends had shaken hands. Photos had been taken. Speeches delivered like rehearsed lines in a play. It was a kind of night designed to look meaningful. But everyone knew the truth. Empty praise, cold smiles, legacy on display. Outside, Paris sparkled. Black cars waited like chess pieces. Chauffeurs standing stiff in November wind. The cameras were still out there, hungry. But inside Hotel Le Bristol, silent. Mohamed Salah moved to the marble lobby like a man finally free of a mask. His tuxedo jacket was still perfectly tailored, but the bow tie hung loose around his collar. His smile, the one he'd worn for hours, had faded. His face was no longer performing. It was exhausted, human. He reached the elevator, alone, pressed the button for the 15th floor, waited. Ding. The door slid open. Gold trim, soft lighting, a moment of peace. He stepped in. Just as the doors began to close, hold the door. A voice, calm, commanding, familiar. Salah's finger hovered near the close button. For 1 second, he didn't move. Just one. Long enough to make a choice. Short enough to pretend it wasn't one. He didn't press the button, but he didn't hold the door either. It didn't matter. Cristiano Ronaldo stepped in anyway. The door shut behind them. Smooth, final. Like the curtain falling before the truth began. 2 icons, 1 elevator. No press, no PR team, no escape. Neither man spoke. Not at first. The soft hum of the elevator was the only sound, rising like static in the background. Salah leaned against the brass railing, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the floor numbers slowly ticking upward. Ronaldo stood straight, posture perfect, adjusting his cufflinks as if the world still had cameras watching. They weren't touching. They weren't even looking at each other. But the air between them, thick, sharp, was already speaking. A silent dialogue built from months of interviews, headlines, and everything left unsaid. Then it happened. The elevator jerked slightly, a sudden, unnatural jolt. The lights blinked once, then went out. Darkness. The hum of motion stopped. The floor numbers froze. Total silence. 5 seconds. 10. 15. You gotta be kidding me, Ronaldo muttered in the dark. A moment later, the emergency lighting flickered on. Dim red, cold. Now their faces appeared in flashes of shadow. Not icons, not gods, just men in a box. Salah's eyes adjusted first. He didn't look surprised, only tired. Of all the people, he said softly, almost himself. Ronaldo glanced at him, his jaw tense, not thrilled either. And just like that, the silence returned. But this wasn't the peaceful kind. This was the kind that carries weight, the kind that doesn't rest, the kind that says, we both know why this moment mattered. The elevator wasn't moving, neither were they, but something between them had just started. The red emergency lights buzzed softly overhead. Neither man moved. Seconds passed, then minutes, the kind of silence that doesn't cool down, it tightens. Finally, Salah broke it. You want to talk about it? His voice was calm, not confrontational, just tired of pretending. Ronaldo didn't turn his head. He kept his eyes fixed on the wall. Talk about what? Salah let the silence hang a second longer. That line, on live TV, he plays to be accepted. I play to dominate. Ronaldo exhaled through his nose, short, controlled, like he'd rehearsed this in his head 100 times, and still didn't have a good answer. He looked away again. It wasn't personal. Salah stepped forward. closing the distance by inches. It was public, he said, so it was never just football. That landed. Ronaldo's fingers twitched slightly at his side. I've always been honest, he replied, arms folding tightly across his chest. The posture of someone defending something even they're not sure they still believe in. At the cost of who? Salah asked, you think I meant to offend you? I think you needed to remind the world who the king still is. That one stung. Ronaldo's jaw clenched, a flicker of pride flaring up in his expression. You're not a victim. Salah's eyes narrowed, but his tone stayed even. And I never asked to be. Another pause, but not silent. There was a sound in the room now, not from the elevator, but from the weight of two truths colliding. They weren't yelling. They didn't need to. They were cutting with precision. And the worst part? They were both right. Silence returned. But it wasn't awkward anymore. It was heavier than that, like something unspoken had finally taken shape in the space between them. The red emergency lights flickered faintly. The hum of machinery stayed dead. Salah stood still, waiting. Ronaldo shifted, just slightly, as if gravity had changed. Then he spoke, his voice lower now, almost hesitant. You want the truth? Salah didn't break eye contact. No sarcasm, no challenge, just a quiet answer. Always. A pause. I'm scared, Ronaldo said. The words were simple, but they landed like a confession, the kind that doesn't come from ego, but from something far more fragile. Salah blinked once. Of what? He asked softly. Ronaldo didn't speak right away. His eyes searched the space in front of him like the answer might be written on the elevator wall. When he did speak, it wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished. It was just real. That when this is all over, people will remember the goals, but forget the person. The line sat there, unchallenged. No dramatic music. No counter-argument. Just truth. Salah didn't flinch. Didn't smirk. He didn't try to comfort or correct. He just stood there, quiet, present. Then finally, now you know how I felt since day one. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't triumph. It was understanding. And for the first time since the doors closed, they were no longer two legends trapped in a box. They were just two men, finally seen. They stood in stillness, not speaking, not posturing, just standing. For the first time in months, maybe years, there was no spotlight to perform for, no press to manage, no legacy to defend. Just two men, not equals, not enemies, just human. Cristiano's posture softened just slightly. His eyes dropped and met Salah's, and when he spoke again, his voice didn't carry pride, only sincerity. I didn't mean to erase your story, he said quietly. A pause, the kind that asked for permission to be forgiven without demanding it. Salah looked at him, not with anger, not with victory, just clarity. You didn't, he replied. You just reminded the world why it matters. They held each other's gaze for a second longer. Then, flicker. The lights above them sparked back to life. Soft, bright, blinding after so much red. The hum of machinery returned. The elevator shifted. Ding, 15th floor. The doors opened slowly. Gold trim, white marble. The world waiting just outside. They stepped into the hallway, one after the other. No nod, no handshake, no performance, just movement. Simple, wordless. Salah turned right. Ronaldo turned left. No goodbye, but something had shifted, not in their careers, not in the headlines, but in the space between them. Something subtle, permanent, the kind of shift that doesn't announce itself with noise, only with silence that feels lighter, because sometimes the most powerful conversations aren't broadcast, aren't quoted, aren't even remembered by the world. They're just felt by the people brave enough to finally tell the truth when no one else is listening. And maybe that's the only kind of truth that ever really matters. If the story moved you, stay with us. Because not every legacy is built under stadium lights. Some are shaped in silence, in conversations no one else hears, in truths whispered when the cameras stop rolling. There are more moments like this, more behind-the-scenes humanity, more stories that don't fit into headlines, but change everything anyway. Subscribe now, because sometimes the most important part of the story is what happens off the pitch.